Colorado AD Rick George said in the Denver Post that he is very open to having a home-and-home series with Nebraska in the future. What are your thoughts on this possibility?
I'm going to say do it. I look at who Nebraska's got lined up for the future, and they got Tennessee down the road. They got Arizona down the road. They got Oklahoma State down the road. Do any of those, other than maybe Tennessee, do more for you than Colorado, Nebraska? And maybe it's not every year. Maybe you do 4 out of 6 with Colorado.
Yeah, so my one concern with that would be how long is this brand of Colorado going to be there? Like, what if they win? How long is Dion there for the long haul? And what kind of Colorado team are you actually getting in 2033 or whatever?
You're getting Nebraska's money every other year coming into your state. We know that.
Right. I'm saying from Nebraska's, like from a football standpoint. Like, I mean, the series geographically makes sense, traditionally, historically, all that stuff. Yeah, I'm all for it. I just don't know if, like, we're talking about this being a nationally watched game. Will that be the case 5 years from now?
On the other hand, do you want to face Colorado hitting on all cylinders all the time? It's still Colorado. It's still the fan base is getting together. It's still a lot of memories. I mean, I don't know if I want Colorado in the top 10 all the time when you're facing them, especially with the Big Ten schedule. That's the other part of the conversation. The way the Big Ten's gone now, you get no breaks.
It could be 10 conference games soon.
Right. So do you want real tough non-conference games?
Mm-hmm.
No. The answer is no. But Colorado, I mean, I'd say yes to that because of the rivalry and how good it feels. I mean, listen, I get it. There's hatred. Colorado, it's amazing that when I talk to Colorado people, how much they toss around the H word. They hate Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always feel like it's reciprocal, but they definitely hate Nebraska.
Yeah.
There's no question.
It is, but probably not to that degree.
Right.
All right, Abby, what do you got next?
Okay. What does Sims in particular need to do in order for Nebraska to beat Colorado? Obviously, limit the turnovers, but what else?
Make the right reads. Get the ball downfield.
Capitalize in the red zone.
There you go.
You know, I mean, finish drives.
There you go.
He was 3 of 9 on throws that traveled 10 yards or further with 3 picks, period.
And a lot of that, as we mentioned, is on the receivers, too. Guys got to get open, and they got to make plays on the ball.
Thanks for saying that.
But when they are open, the ball has to get to them, and Sims has to find them.
Next.
Who are those receivers that Sims is going to rely on, especially with Isaiah Garcia Castaneda out?
Billy Kemp,
Washington.
And then Washington. I mean, those two,
Washington.
And Bullock. I mean, I feel like they've got 3, and then you kind of have to work the freshman kids in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then Lloyd and Coleman are going to play. They have to.
Ty Hahn might get on the field.
Yep.
I think Marcus Washington becomes your number one option.
No brainer. Yeah.
I don't know about no brainer because Kemp they brought here to be a focal point of the offense. Washington, I have a little more confidence in him. Size, he's not a burner, but he's a reliable.
Let's revisit that though after this week. Because I think it's a little premature to back off Kent and not think he's the number one because they had called him the number one all the way through. But is that because that was their guy?
Probably.
And Washington was not one of their people they brought in.
I hear you.
So it'll be interesting to see what this week looks like. Will they call like a little bubble screen to Kemp on the first script?
Just get the ball in his hands.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what that'll look like. This is a good secondary you're facing. I mean, if he's matched on Travis Hunter, think he's just going to run away from him?
No, Travis Hunter, by the way, if you're not familiar, was a 5-star.
Right.
He was the number 1 player in the country.
Right. I mean, and if he is your defined number, I don't know how they'll match up. But if it's Hunter on Kemp, I'm going away from
Kemp's
Kemp.
a slot receiver, and Hunter's probably, you would think, going to be on the boundary.
Perhaps.
All right, next question.
What is the single most important thing Nebraska needs to do in order to beat the Buffs?
Slow it down.
Said.
I mean, I just play bully ball.
Yeah. Play in a phone booth.
Mm-hmm.
Keep this game in a phone booth.
Make it a game of 3rd and 2s where you just ram it at them and you get them and you keep chewing the clock.
Yeah.
And that's what Minnesota does. And it worked for them. And Nebraska took Minnesota out of it. That's probably the most frustrating thing about last week's game.
Yeah.
Nebraska made Minnesota throw the ball 44 times, the most throws since 2015.
And how much in the second half?
35.
35.
Which was on a pace that was greater than Tim Rattay's all-time record of 68 throws against Nebraska. Think about that.
Oh, I do. Nebraska took Minnesota out of its game. I mean, they really did.
Tony White had PJ Fleck's offense out of sorts.
All right.
Yep. And you know what? They ended up doing it. They couldn't stay out of their own way. So I'm going to just encompass everything. Stop with the costly penalties. Take care of the football. Don't be your own worst enemy, especially in this type of setting.
All right, next one. Where does Colorado's speed rank amongst Big Ten teams?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It's up there.
Hard pressed to think they're faster than Ohio State.
No, yeah, and I mean Michigan's got to be up there too.
Michigan on the perimeter is not. They're not that great. They're a big bruising team. They didn't run the ball particularly well against East Carolina, but no, they don't. Sean, they're not like Ohio State. Ohio State is loaded up with receivers. Now after that, I just don't know about Penn State's personnel. I don't know enough about it. I mean, that's the three teams you go to right away, though, right? Three best teams.
Colorado feels like they have like 3 Trey Palmers.
Yeah,
I mean that's
kind of like
feels.
God
like
dang, think about that
feels
for a
like
second. That's trouble.
And they're going to go. They're going to do 10 deep shots.
Yeah, they're going to stretch the field.
Mark Whipple should just go. I mean, he would be a perfect fit at Colorado, wouldn't he?
They got a good. They got
a better one.
Yeah, they got a guy half his age. So, wow, ageism. I'm in trouble. HR, call him.
Just went there, didn't you?
Yeah, I can go there with Whipple because I'm actually younger than him, which is strange.
All right, 2 more, Abby.
Okay, outside of Sims, who needs to have a great game on the offense to beat Colorado?
Gabe Urban.
22, yeah.
Because I think they've kind of established that it's going to be his game. I mean, Anthony Grant will probably get an opportunity, but it's going to – I think Gabe Urban's going to get plenty before he does.
22.
I'm going to go Turner Corcoran.
Ooh.
Just because he's kind of the representative of the offensive line, and you look at their pass protection struggles, he was right there.
Better question. Could we see Teddy Prohaska at all play in this game?
Yeah, we're going to have to check in with Rule on that at the end of the week because he traveled, he suited up, went through warm-ups at Minnesota, didn't play. They wouldn't have brought him if he wasn't close.
Rule did not mention him yesterday.
He also wasn't asked about it. That's our fault.
No, but he did mention Henrich.
And Jamari Butler.
And Jamari Butler is questionable. He didn't – yeah, that was probably intentional. He didn't mention Teddy. I bet we see Teddy.
Final question.
So if that's the case, Teddy Prohaska.
Okay, our last one. Which fan base has the most hostile fans in your experience?
2002 Penn State has to be up there. One of the earlier night games in that stadium's history. I mean, it was like being at an Eagles game with 110,000 people. And
it was rough.
At that time, I believe it was the largest crowd to ever see a Nebraska game in person. It surpassed that Rose Bowl game in the 40s. So that's up there. The sneaky one for me still remains Missouri 2007.
That was going to be
the one where they beat Nebraska on a Thursday night.
Oh, I'd say Missouri. I'd just say Missouri in general.
Yeah.
When Nebraska won that game, when Davison kicked the ball up for Wiggins, I'll always remember that after the game, me and Kurt McKeever and I are walking to the car, and I'll never forget Kurt saying to me, "Just keep your head down. Just look forward. Keep your head down. Don't look up. Don't look up." Because it was rough. We're in the parking lot, and it was rough. I just wanted to get to the car.
Do you remember the post game there? Like, I remember it was Bill Callahan here. They brought him like outside of the locker room where fans walking around, and there was like people perched up like around the little
booing,
the
yelling,
whatever, the ramps, the little curved ramps, and they were just like all along the side there. And there was kids, like dads, like yelling, getting their kids to yell cuss words at Callahan. It was vicious.
Yeah, Missouri was vicious.
So in 05. You know, my old roommate Ross Gratup. His he was at the game in the stands. We traveled together, but he was in the stands at Missouri, and some kids took an older woman's purse and ran off with it.
Great.
And Ross, pretty built guy, athletic guy, he ran the guy down and like hog tied him down and got the purse back.
Really.
Husker.
See, that stuff happens at Missouri.
I mean, I was like, first of all, what would a drunk college kid be taking a purse from a Nebraska?
You just named it drunk college kid.
Beer money.
So we'd be
making
remiss
light
not
of
to
it
say Colorado too. I mean, the horror stories from those games too.
God.
Well, I mean,
the
2019 guys.
bags of urine and all that sort of stuff. Like,
2019 was rugged. It's rugged. There's the hatred is genuine. It's genuine.
That game turned around the tenure of Frost in Nebraska. They were up 17 points as a top 25 ranked Nebraska team, and they went in there and peed down their leg in the second half, blew it. They get a freaking delay of game to start the second half. They got the ball to start the second half.
Still pissed
up 17-0.
Sean,
because Nebraska fans
it's over.
literally would have marched down Boulder like troops in Paris.
We have to move
planting their flag. And
That been the Shums.
and then instead we go back to the hotel and everyone had to change their clothes because they were so nervous to wear the Nebraska gear out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't allowing Nebraska. Some bars in Boulder were not allowing Nebraska fans into their bars.
Yeah. There's people that were wanting to meet up with us and they had Husker gear on and they said, we can't get in. They're not letting us in.
So
it's hard to top that. Missouri's as close as I can come. It's as close as I can.
I mean,
come.
like the on-field experience, just for me, it's Missouri. Just seeing that sort of stuff, seeing the punch, Kellen Houston,
what a punch! That
knocking
was.
the guy out.
What a
Travis
punch.
Justice got the legendary shot on that post.
They played it over and over on CNN. I'll never
Yeah.
forget it because every time I saw it, I was like, that dude can punch. He threw a chop right hand.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that
floored
guy
the
made
guy.
a lot of money.
Kept the elbow tight.
Yeah, kept the elbow tight. Boom.
Dropped him.
God, that was beautiful.
All right.